Did you know this being known as Azura that is so strong, he fought the living embodiment of all energy, cosmic force energy mantra itself in a fist fight, a being that can get bigger than at least 20 plus galaxies or make a solid statue construct that's bigger than galaxies. There's even different angles showing how small galaxies look in comparison to this giant statue of himself looking crazy huge. Even though Azura is above planet size in this particular scan, Azura doesn't care, and he will punch beings like this in the face, beings that can grow bigger than galaxies, and even force beings that is responsible of all the cosmic force energy in the universe to go to their higher form and still overpower him, because Azura likes to get mad. But you're going to see as this video goes along. Oh boy, respect him. When there were impure beasts that threatened the land, the Goma, the 8 generals were there to protect Gaia, aka the Earth. One of them being, you know, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Azura. Yeah, it was literally stated they're the protectors of Gaia. His lore is pretty much explained right here on how he got betrayed. He got cast out from the 8 deities, becoming the 7 deities. He goes on a hatred revenge spree, gets crazy strength because of rage throughout this video. You're going to see all that. And this is like just a rare occasion of actually seeing Azura's pupils, because most of the game he's too mad to where his eyes are in the back of his head. Pure white eyes type stuff. For the most part, even though they all have their different things they specialize in, they all have ridiculous super strength, super speed, special ability type stuff, right? Since everybody loves anger and we love characters that get stronger the madder they get, Azura just happens to be one of the guys that gets stronger the madder he gets. All these different aspects that govern the world, the different aspects the deities stood for. You got pride, lust, greed, sloth, vanity, violence, melancholy, and wrath, of course, goes to Azura. This is definitely based off the 7 deadly sins. I personally love this animated up. Throughout the game, he even gets his fair share of transformations or power-ups. Kind of like this universe's version of Brawly or the Hulk. Visual picture of him. There's even some points he gets so mad that his body literally can't handle his own wrath or rage and starts searing or burning his own body. Like, yeah, it was literally stated that his body is unable to withstand the anger he carries inside him. His buddy Yasha, one of the 8 deities that turned against the other deities when Azura was fighting them all and stuff, pretty much helped Azura out so he can get something so he can help him be able to handle the power output he was producing, the mantra reactor. I want to make this clear. This thing that he's putting in his chest to help out Azura is powerless on its own. He's only using it so it can handle Azura's wrath, so his body won't get destroyed from his own anger. This is just for the fact that he has a lot of wrath and something like this could handle it. But Azura is still producing the wrath, so it's still technically Azura's power. Yeah, this dude Yasha definitely did help power him up a bit though. Like literally ripping out his own heart or chest reactor thingy to store this energy in Azura to wake him up. But if I'm being honest, these power-ups almost become irrelevant because his base form almost doesn't need him eventually, because there's points in the lore where there's certain beings that can stop his punch with a finger. In one of his best powered up states, his strength eventually grows to where those same beings that could stop his attacks with a finger can't stop his attacks with a finger no more in his base state, when higher forms couldn't do nothing. I mean, look, this is his base form actually pushing him without no power-ups around his hand. But in this occasion, you can see clearly powered up, but yet he's stopping him with a finger. So it clearly shows that his base form actually surpassed all his transformations, so it don't really matter. A great example of his strength increase factor is on this occasion when this being Duus was fighting both Azura and his former rival, and he was able to defend against both of these beings with his lightning. Despite all this, he eventually gets angry enough and powerful enough to blast this dude Duus with his punching power to do him like that. I just think it's cool that he got a new mantra reactor that allowed him to absorb energy, that allowed him to grow bigger than planets and stuff like that. Look how small Earth looks. But enough with all that transformation and stuff. Let's get into it. How strong is this guy? There's going to be a lot of different transformations in this video, so don't be surprised if I don't mention every transformation. Yeah, that's why I already mentioned them. More than likely, every single feat in this video is going to be him at different levels of anger, just to be warned. Believe it or not, before the events of this game, Azura just wasn't always raging all the time and actually had pupils. He had his master that would train him in fighting arts and stuff. It's implied by the way he parries certain entities that he has fighting ability. When it comes to raw fighting speed, he literally had to fight a being that can move with lightning speed and control with the element of lightning. He's fast enough to tag beings like this. In my personal opinion, one of my favorite ways to understand their speed is this occasion right here when they was flying into space. You see all these different stars. You get to see how far away his opponent is. This could be an art type of error, but it's implied he's so far away that galaxies look small to him, type of far away. And you can see Azura's right here next to Earth. Yeah, I know in this occasion he's bigger than Earth. I'm gonna get to that later. Even though that being was solar systems away, he was flying. You see the stars behind him passing. Speed. You're probably thinking, what does this have to do with fighting speed? Because this being Chakravartin was way off, far away from the Earth. And this being can shoot beams that are so fast that despite him being this far away, it appears that these beams can reach Earth really freaking fast while obliterating planets in the path. I want you to see this frame by frame of how far this beam itself traveled. You see the beam in this angle. This is Earth way over here. And it reached in no time. If you're still doubting his fighting speed, when this beam shot this beam again, Azura was able to react to these beams over and over again after he kept on shooting multiple of them at him. Clear-eyed intent that these fighters in this game can fight fast. He's forever making his fists like Gatling gun fists, punching super fast. Even from a being that's the source of all mantra or energy he can dodge attacks from when it comes to speed, fighting speed. How can you say he's slow when his punches look like this, guys? He can definitely fight way faster than the speed of light after all this evidence. It's just common sense at this point. I mean, look how these punches look. It's also worth noting when it comes to speed, Azura's fighting a being that can technically stop time in a whim or freeze it. Or one can say in bursts, so he has to be fast. The whole idea of size mean nothing is a very big thing in this game because despite things being way bigger than these beings, they just sling them like nothing, even giant elephant craps. There's plenty of Goma creatures that get bullied in this game, like this big giant elephant Goma thingy, this giant turtle Goma, for example. His punching power is that hard. Yeah, you get the idea. When you're this strong and fast, obviously you can jump really high. That's definitely apparent. Yeah, giant statues are just light work to him. Breaking out of stone is easy, even with no arms. And crippled, his headbutts can produce crazy big shock waves against beings that are powerful like him, other deities. I hope you guys don't get tired of me bringing up the other deities. There's going to be a lot of Azura fighting the other deities fights in this same video, slinging them even if they're way bigger than him, like Wizen, for example. The power-up itself is actually devastating. Yeah, kick through massive Goma. Yeah, things that are that big. Size don't mean jack. He can do a volley of punches at rapid succession if he feels like it, on top of them being all crazy powerful. One thing I like about Azura's feats is that they're just straightforward. He's a really strong character that gets stronger with anger and would just punch you in the face and beat you up that way. Nothing hard to understand. Imagine getting so mad to where you look orange and crap and you produce blast that takes out entire fleets. Oh yeah, in case you missed the memo, he does have energy projection technically. The blast of his explosions can do all of that to all them ships. Yeah. What is he, a Dragon Ball Z character with Kamehameha Blast or something? I'm just saying. Bro, there's this wild non-canon fight between Akuma Oni State versus Azura. It's weird that this is one of the best fights in the game, even though it's technically not canon. They're both Capcom. I think they should totally make this canon in the future. It's in the middle of these two fighting each other. These two was punching so hard and kicking each other so hard that they literally was tearing the moon apart. You literally see the moon was getting tore apart, literally slugging it in the core of the moon. Madness. Even though this is not canon, and Azura technically in canon could crack the moon apart, obviously. Is there anybody that doesn't believe Azura could punch the moon apart, right? Imagine being blasted by a continent-sized blast and withstanding all of it. Yeah, look what's blasting them, the big old planet. Yeah. You have to be pretty strong when the planet itself blasts you, and you have to be okay and withstand such attacks or blasts, you know what I mean? You know when something's the will of the planet itself. You know, something that's, a big chunk of the earth, a being that existed the same amount of years that the earth or Gaia has existed. Entities like this is what Azura has had to punch before and crack beings like this with his punching power. If bro wanted to, he could just pull up to a continent and sink it if he felt like it with one punch. Azura even straight up says it out of his mouth when it comes to big entities. Gigantic stuff that's bigger than the planet just doesn't scare them. They even go as far as saying it doesn't matter how big you get. Size don't mean jack. Even deities like Yasha agree. He looks at it as an easy thing, like, oh, the bigger they are, the bigger target they are, because it's not like they're bigger and they're actually stronger than him. He's smaller than this big entity, of course, but Azura doesn't care because he's just as strong or stronger. One of the beings that used to train him, that being known as August, big old bullcrap elephant stuff like this, he can flick away with a finger flick. Yeah, he was literally his pupil, August. One of these deities was August that actually helped train Azura. And you guessed it, Azura can slugfest it with beings like this in serious fist fights. And eventually send him flying with his punching power. Get off of me. You can tell he has massive strength because he's ridiculously fast when he's holding stuff, so it lets you know that it's not really no drag weight. Beings like Wizen, for example, he's strong enough to launch this being into space with his raw strength. That size means nothing for Azura. Even by mid-air grabbing you by the finger, he will slam you and toss you. Even when this being transforms into a form bigger than the Earth itself, he's definitely bigger than continents. Not to mention there's the added fact, this being Wizen was probably already a planet buster level being without getting as big as the planet itself, but he's way above that at this point. This guy's finger's bigger than cities, bruh. Azura just simply gets mad, does one punch style type of stuff, and incinerates this being, vaporizing a planet-sized entity with one hit, guys. That type of punching power. So right off gate, his punches can destroy planets. Are you really surprised somebody like Azura can destroy a planet with a punch, guys? Considering that simply splitting a planet in half is already impressive, but Azura vaporized this planet-sized being, so simply destroying this planet is actually a greater feat than planet-busting level of power. Some even calculated this to be star level, considering that vaporizing a planet is actually a greater feat than splitting one in half. You know what I mean? There's different type of destruction. It's like splitting a door in half or vaporizing a door. Which one's more impressive? You get it? It's crazy that this being known as Wizen was this strong or this powerful. A being that can grow planet size is considered the weakest of these generals, guys. I mean, think about it. When Azura fought his former master, somebody that's above Wizen, the same deity that can grow bigger than planets and stuff, and Azura one-shotted him in his giant form when he got mad enough, there's implications that this being could cut the moon in half if he wanted to when him and Azura was fighting on the moon, because when he sliced this and Azura catches it, a big chunk of the moon falls in after it. You know this being augurs is strong. When Azura casually punches him, he doesn't even flinch at first. But when Azura transforms, he can damage him quite a bit. Strength-wise, you can even see them locking arms, and he gets the uppercut on him. Keep this in mind in Azura's wrath. Out of all the deities, this being known as Duas was the head deity. This being actually pulled out his sword against Azura. That's not something he does often, because it was stated that the last being that he's pulled his sword out was against Duas himself. August had to pull this out on Azura, letting you know Azura is a threat to him, like seriously. Also meaning this being, for example, Duas, and majority of the top tiers of the deities are actually above this planet-sized being. This lets you know, like, the weaker end beings are still above planet-shattering levels of power. Or one could say above star-shattering levels of power. Whatever his strength is, his durability is similar to his attack output, or his body would crumble after every punch, obviously, right? His fist would break apart because of the recoil if his fist wasn't at least as durable, right? This being August's sword could grow so long that it can grow longer than the planet itself, because when it impaled Azura, it was able to go from one side of the planet to the other side of the freaking planet. Notice how he's not even powered up right here. This same sword that pierced him, that pushed all the way through the planet with its length, he was able to break it apart with his punching power, then use his own blade to cut up this being that damaged him real bad. Yeah. You know, the will of the planet itself, the stuff I brought up earlier. Azura and them can punch that hard because they actually fought and punched out the face of the will of the planet itself, working together with Yasha. This is the will of the planet itself's core, looking like molten rock lava monster crap. This is a manifestation of the planet's itself's wrath. Wrath versus wrath. That's funny, right? You remember earlier when I mentioned he needed a device to help his body handle his own rage? Back earlier when I mentioned the mantra reactor stuff? Basically getting this new form, Azura the Destructor form, which can fly through space at massively faster than light speeds. It's implied he absorbed this blast from this god of god level being Chakravartin, something that can destroy entire planets. He simply absorbed this blast to help him out to get as bigger than the planet itself. He's already bigger than planet Earth itself, right, in this state. But check this out. An even bigger planet, a planet actually bigger than himself, was coming towards him. He has to punch through this big planet thrown at him by Chakravartin to show his power. Like, it's way bigger than him, guys. Yeah, so he's definitely past them star-shattering ranges. Yeah, this being Chakravartin even threw a sun technically at Azura. One could argue this is only game mechanics, but yeah, I think he could definitely do this in canon. Azura's blast was able to blow this gigantic crap away. To get a true idea of how hard this being can punch, you gotta look at how big this being Chakravartin grew. This godlike being grew so big to where he was bigger than planets, and they imply he was even bigger than galaxies because galaxies are floating around him and they look like little small bubbles or balls. This golden statue looking BS version of himself makes galaxies look small. I know you guys saw this junk coming, but he could punch something that's bigger than galaxies apart. This golden statue version of himself, apparently, punching into the pocket dimension. A being that's so big that makes galaxies look small. A being that made a golden version of himself that's bigger than galaxies, planets, and etc. and throws galaxies or planets at you. You know your punches are strong when you can punch through some structure that makes galaxies look like the size of Skittles or makes galaxies look like ants. You can punch into the being, into his pocket universe, or one could say event horizon. Considering how big this being is compared to galaxies, let's count the galaxies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and probably more that I can't see in this angle. You get the idea. Like, this being is bigger than 30 plus galaxies and stuff like that. Yet Azura can punch through big structures like this and punch into his dimension itself, despite this being's crazy size. This kind of implies he could punch apart galaxies if he wished, or one could say he could punch with the force that could level galaxies. As crazy as destroying or punching apart multiple galaxies is, his strength keeps increasing. Because despite the fact he could delete or punch apart several galaxies, 30 plus, 20 plus, 40 plus galaxies to be precise, when he boxes it up with the being that can become way bigger than galaxies, I will admit there were parts where he was straight up getting overpowered, but this being is the top dog of them all though, so that's okay. His rage can increase even more to where he still was able to get the upper hand over such being in his first form. Yes. This being, getting overwhelmed. Yeah, causing him crazy pain. Yeah. I couldn't blame you if you was to say Azura could punch away a universe at his max rage, because this being Chakravartin that he's slugging it out with, there's some parts of the fight where it appears that Chakravartin was to crack the floor of this pocket dimension. Even when Chakravartin shoots blast at Azura, he's able to punch him back with his raw strength, just like that. One can argue that Chakravartin has shown dimensional busting manipulation type feats, like in this occasion right here, for example, cracking the whole universe pocket dimension that they're in, apparently to where Azura's legit falling. You see, like he's legit falling. If this was illusion, how come there's no ground at least? You know what I mean? Even if you want to say this is illusion, that's fine. Because when he goes in his crazier form, this pocket dimension that they're in, apparently, you can tell they're not in a normal universe. You can see Chakravartin manipulate this entire place just like that, like it's nothing. He was overwhelming his being so much to where he felt like he had to transform to his true form. This is wild because there was a being like this that can stop his attacks with a finger, bro. This guy literally blasted Azura's transformations off of him. Yeah. To where his base form had no choice but to compete with a being with this level of power. This is a being that's so mighty that when he first appeared, was too powerful for Azura even in his base state, to where he could stop Azura's punch with a finger. Azura literally got strong enough after this to where he actually can damage him in this state like this, to where he forces him to transform. Whatever this form can do, this newer form can do better, because we actually see Azura starting to overpower this form, so it forced him to get another form that's even greater than this one. It's so much mightier than the other form that's that powerful. It literally stopped this punch with one finger. Despite his latest form having enough power to punch apart multiple galaxies, he actually lost his forms. Chakravartin knocked him out of these forms back into base state. You're probably thinking, oh no, he doesn't have the punching power to shake or punch apart galaxies anymore because he lost his power-ups, right? Nope. Because of his absurd rage, his base form can grow enough power to surpass all these previous states that I already showed you in this video in his base state, guys. So all these transformations is irrelevant at this point when it comes to how much power he can produce. This is ludicrous. A being in this powered up state, Azura literally punched through his energy blast. A being he usually couldn't damage can damage him in his base form. This being Chakravartin is literally the living embodiment of this cosmic energy known as mantra. Like, mantra is technically everywhere in the universe because mantra comes from different souls. Beings can pray and give out mantra to the deities. It's like everything that you went through in this game and all these feats I've shown you thus far of Azura fighting other entities or other deities, all have been a part of this guy's plan. Like, literally everything that he intended were like trials, and that was just a test. Like, he's literally the reason for it all. Azura said it. The Goma, that big old plague, the will itself trying to fight Azura, all of that is because of him, mantra. Azura basically got in a slugfest with a being that is the reason for all these 7 deities or 8 deities' powers in general. He's technically, Chakravartin is above all these strong beings combined, and Azura had to fight a being like this and overpower him in his base form, might I add. This game takes heavy inspiration from Hinduism, the religion, so there could be some implications that when they use the term world, they could be talking about universe, like implying making a new universe to start over, like resetting, implying that he's done this before. Implying that he could have created or destroyed multiple different universes or in the past, like reset it, destroy it, do a new universe, and do it over again. That's what it could be implying here. On this website, for example, they talk about how the term world is used as talking about the universe when it comes to Hinduism. Yeah, but all I know is this guy's busted. If one is to interpret that this guy created multiple universes, or at least the mantra for multiple universes, destroy the world, make it again type of thing, that would mean Azura boxed it up with a being that can create or destroy universes. But I actually want to hear what you guys think on that. Do you think Azura has enough raw power to punch a universe away? Or at his peak rage, be able to punch multiple universes away? That's some crazy punching power to think about that. But what do you guys think? But before I get going, thanks for the donations, everybody. Respect Azura. This dude's busted. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.